Hey there, folks. Gip Erskine here, Values Driven Coaching, and I thank you for the value of your time. I thank you for joining us this week because we're going to be talking about speaking their language. And who are they, and why should we be speaking their language? Well, they are your clients, they are your prospects, they are the ones who are resonating only with a particular frequency that you can deliver, and I'm going to cover that today. There's a lot of temptation for us to sound in the industry very, very authoritative with respect to our own metrics. And very often you're going to find that your most impressive numbers may be your least persuasive. We're going to talk about that in today's session. So let's make value visible. So I had a security company come in and say, you've got a 168-hour account. And I had no idea what he was talking about. Yes, it's a big number. Okay, triple digits, got that. 168, I can't do that math. I can't calculate by it. I can't multiply by it. I can't really divide by it. And then until it was, expressed to me that this is 24/7, like, oh, okay, so it's 168 hours in a week. Okay, thank you. Now what do I do with that? I had nothing to do with it. It's their number. And just because they say that's the way we organize our accounts or prioritize our accounts or put them in certain categories, if they're a 168-hour account, it's a 24/7 deal. Got it. I'm still not following. Why should I care about 168 hours? I care about the coverage. I care about everything else with regard to who's going to be covering. I care about really what do we get for it. But the fact that they kind of came out guns blazing, and which you're not allowed to carry a gun on my properties anyway, and all this pedigree about my licensing and my military background, and thank you for your service, but that's all well and good. And 168 hours, I'm just like, I'm baffled. I want to know, what do I get, and what does it cost? What's the value? So they lost me with 168 hours. So the temptation to just kind of throw out a big number was a mistake, and I let them hear it. So losing bids is rarely a volume problem. By volume, I mean more of this and more of that, and beefier proposals and bigger claims and more benefits and more features and things like that. Benefits are good, but I mean, on their own, how does it translate into an outcome? An outcome for me. And so PMs are not underinformed. They get a lot of information, and you don't need to give more information. You need to be more specific and articulate with the kind of information that you're conveying. And that is something that they can translate into their language. So 168-hour account, 24/7. Okay, I get round the clock coverage. Okay, maybe that can be put in a different way. I'm going to cover that in a moment. So the fluency model, it's wise to become fluent in your client's language and your prospect's language. You can ask them, what are they actually measured on? So that's code for how do they get bonused? And if you just want to cut right down to it, property managers, like most human beings, are fairly self-reliant, fairly interested in their own outcome, in their own agenda, in their own income. And so anything that's going to contribute or harm that is going to be something that we can understand from an empathic level and from an emotional level. So how do they get measured, and how do they stack up, and how do they look toward service providers and hopefully service partners in such a way that can help either protect it or enhance that particular measure? Listen for the emotional pressure. I said everything, sales is all about tying to emotions. We're going to talk a lot about metrics and a lot about what resonates, but what resonates with your clients are going to be the things that are highest on their values, highest on their priorities, highest on their how do I get measured on this list. And so those things that will add pressure to that particular emotion, you start poking at the pain, and you will get an instant die for relief, a call for some type of a remedy to the situation here. So be listening for those types of things, and then translate your capabilities and your own differentiators into their metrics. Property managers, they operate by one specific metric, and it is primarily cost per square foot, and that is dollars per rentable square foot per year. So if that's $1.25 a foot item right there, you got 1,000,000 square foot building, that's $1.25 being committed to that particular line item. It's a big number with a big building, okay? Got it, but that's their metric. They have other metrics as well, and that doesn't mean that you can't introduce yours in such a way that you just need to translate it into a benefit for them. So, ask what they're measured on, and AKA what they're bonused on. Are they bonus based upon budget variance? Are they bonus about protection and enhancement of NOI? Are they bonus based upon the safety risk? And it's pretty hard to kind of come right out and say, hey, how are you paid? I'm not asking you to do that, but listen for the things that they want to protect. Listen for the things that they want to preserve. Listen for the things that they want to enhance. If they can help a tenant renew, then that is an elongation of a rental stream that inures to the benefit of the property owner, and the property owner gives them a good attaboy for that and really approves the bonuses based upon that. Now, on NOI, net operating income, a lot of times property managers believe that the only way to increase NOI is to reduce operating expenses. And while that is one avenue, the other avenue that gets completely ignored by property managers is top line. Yes, they're responsible for collecting rent, but they're not responsible for charging it, building it, requiring it, leasing it. And those are the things that if you're with me in my programs, we talk about those things that are top line, attributive, and accretive, I guess is the MBA buzzword for that. How can you expand top line and also boost your NOI without touching operating expenses? And that is making things ready for leasing and so forth. So be very much attuned to future offerings that values-driven coaching, values-driven sales mastery, all of those programs, we go deep into that particular subject. But you can ask a question that correlates to what they get, how they get measured and what they get measured on by asking, what do the ownership evaluate? So when ownership evaluates this property, what are the 2 or 3 numbers they look at first? Is it NOI? Is it top line rent? Is it bottom line cost per square foot? Is it internal rate of return? What are the metrics that you and I may be helping, enabling them to improve, protect, enhance, elevate? Ask it early and directly, and most competitors will only broadcast, which means they'll only keep on talking about their numbers, not the ones that matter to the property managers. Move number 2 is listen. Listen for that emotional pressure. If the first one is ask, the second one is listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, you know what they say. Zip it. What are the numbers that keep on repeating? What are the things that went wrong with the last guy? What actually harmed your budget, and now are you in recovery mode and you've got to make up for that shortfall? What must survive in an ownership meeting? You got asset managers, they play as surrogates to the property owner, and they have the actual property owner himself. What would make your renewal easy to defend? Be asking those things. They will tell you. Your clients, your prospects, they're dying to tell you exactly where it hurts and where they need protection, where they need enhancement, where they need increases, where they need decreases, where they need belt tightening. And we'll get to pricing in another video, but just know full well that when they say budget variance, it isn't small talk. It does tell you where their pain lives. And if you show and exacerbate, not saying poke and put salt on the wound or anything, but if you can make the pain so discreet, so accurate, so tangible that they can't help but look for a solution to resolve it, they will pay anything to resolve it. If it will damage their reputation, damage their career, damage their prospect of staying on the property. Property managers are often very, very scared. They're, like all of us, are on a 30-day contract. Not everybody knows that. They're just as swift and even earlier if the property sells and they're left holding the bag. They're left without a job. If you do a really good job as a property manager, you work your way out of a job. You get the property sold and then you have to look for the next one. So they are on kind of pins and needles when it comes to their comfort zone in their career. So anything that jeopardizes that is, plays into their calculus as to how safe of a choice are you. The words are data, repetition is the headline. So if you can be thinking about what it is they're listening, what are they telling you? What comes up over and over again? And if you pay close enough attention, you're going to find it. So after that, you need to translate it. 168 hours translated in the security world would be that the tenants see your presence more often on a round-the-clock basis, and they stop calling about safety issues. The incident reports start dropping, liability exposures shrink, budget variances stay quiet, and their renewal decision might be written in cost per square foot, not hours per week. You can have both, but don't rely on your denominator when they have their own math. So see, it's the same company, same service, same price, and completely different conversation. So can they repeat it upstairs? By upstairs, that means their boss, their higher up, their asset manager, their director of property management, their property owner. And things that fail the test may be, hey, it's a 168-hour account. Our people are our number one asset. We are passionate about our service. That's all well and good, but if you can't back it up, it'll fail because it ends with your metric, 168 hours. It sounds like everyone else. People are number one asset. It dies when you leave. However, when you want to pass the test, you can talk about the outcomes that reduces incident liability. There goes risk, and it protects client, tenant retention, and it's defensible at renewal time. Here's what I've done for you lately, and it ends in their metric, and it's repeatable to ownership. They want to be able to support and defend the decision that they made to hire you in the first place, and it also survives without you. So that's what they can repeat upstairs. And look at the metric that travels. It travels in the bid comparison, how service companies get evaluated. It travels in the nomenclature that property managers are talking about, and that's cost per square foot. It gets down to apples pricing. It goes into how budgets get built and protected, how variances get explained, how ownership reads results. And as far as defense goes, how decisions get made and justified and supported, how renewal survives scrutiny, and how your price becomes defensible and warranted when you can position it right. And we're going to talk a lot more about price protection and why you should never feel compelled to cut your price, ever. And then it allows the property manager to feel brave. They get to be that spokesperson. They get to be that confident advocate of somebody that they can put their arm around with confidence and say, this is why we're hiring this company right here. Cost per square foot, the dialect that every PM speaks. All right, so this week's value challenge, if you care to take, I'm dropping the gauntlet here. Translate your most impressive claim. So find out what it is that you would like to portray, and don't say 168 hours, but find out whether it's client retention, whether it's your EMR, whether it's your employee retention, whether it's your whatever the metric is, your response rates, and is it repeatable upstairs? Is it something that they can defend? Is it something that works without you? Do you have to be in the room? Do you have to be the one that explains it? Does it end in their metrics, our cost per square foot relative to our peers? And will it survive an ownership review? Because if your sentence ends in your metric, you got to keep translating, because you can't just leave it there. You can't let them do the math. They don't like math. I don't like math. I like when math works, but I don't like to do it. So don't give me 168 hours and leave it hanging. So louder is not the goal, volume is not the goal, fluency is the goal. To become fluent in your owner's nomenclature, their vocabulary, how to articulate specifically their cost per square foot, your cost per square foot. Talk to them about elevating value. Talk about how you position yourself not as the least expensive, but why you're more expensive than others. If you want to hang your hat on you get what you pay for, you're going to need to give them all the ammunition that allows you to support that. And by speaking their language, look at what you get. You get trust, you get defensibility, you get differentiation, pricing power, and partnership. Knowing that you should never need to drop your price. Now, listen, if you're artificially bolder than most of your competition, you may want to revisit what price competitive levels are. However, you should never feel compelled to keep on sharpening your pencil. Drop your price, drop your price. Can you just match this lowest bid? That's an indicator that people actually want to do business with you. So why would you actually say, this is better for everybody? Great, we can shake hands now. That's not winning. Winning is not dropping your drawers. It's not dropping your profits down to nothing. So let's get that clear. And you can hear more from me about winning the right business without cutting your price. And stay tuned for a lot more of these videos. And so I'm very, very proud to have got you this nugget. I hope that this serves you. Gip Erskine, Values-Driven Coaching. Value must be translated, not just stated. And so I thank you for the value of your time.